Welcome, Priestess Lisa and Priestess Loreta.
Hi there, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's been a wonderful day so far with everybody's presentations. I've been really loving it. And today I'm going to be doing my best and demonstrating how to create a, floral plant, altar, centerpiece, side piece, or, you could also make, use it for like your dinner table or, anything like that. I like to do this around this time of year when a lot of the flowers are starting to bloom and, some of my herbs are starting to really come out with a lot of foliage, and it's a great time to go out there and pick things and gather things and just make creations. So happy spring and happy equinox, and Loreta's here with me and she's going to make one while I'm talking and demonstrating. I did spend a little time this morning doing some demo pieces. I made this one here, which is, I don't know how everybody can see, but I might just bring the computer a little closer. And let's see, I'm not very good at this, but this is, okay, maybe I should just keep it where it was. It's sort of like with camellia flowers, and then I have some lemons here, and then I made a base with some rosemary, like sort of made rosemary that I wrapped around a branch that I put into a circle. And so this is just a real simple one that you can make really quickly. And then I'm going to put the computer back so I think it's easier. And put it like that. And then I made this. This is more of like a garland piece, and the base of this is with jasmine foliage, and it hasn't really been blooming quite yet, the jasmine, but it really makes a nice garland. You can just kind of take pieces of the jasmine and just wrap them together. I did wrap it with a little bit of wire, like each piece. And then I made it kind of long like this. And then I put like some clematis and some daphne. And then I also put in some rosemary, and it just looks really nice. And you can drape it around a table or put it over your bed or whatever you like to do. That kind of creates some beauty around you and celebrating spring. And then here I made like just another simple one that's also like a base. I made the base with some rosemary and then the dogwood branch, which I'll show you in a second. And this has some daffodils and some narcissus, which are all blooming in my garden right now. And then I put the candle in the center here because this is a nice little centerpiece for the candle. So what I wanted to show you next is, I'm not sure if everybody is going to do this or not, but this is the dogwood branch here. And I have a tree in my yard, and I just picked the real narrow branches. And then I kind of trim them down a little bit to allow me to make it into a circle. So I just trim off the smaller branches here. You can use anything, like any flexible branch that's, in your neighborhood or your yard. Willow works really good. I did mention that. And depending on how big you want to have your circle, this is one sample I have here that I made earlier, and it's a small one, but if you start small, then it takes a little bit, it doesn't take quite as long to make the creation if you start small. The bigger the circle, the longer it takes to make your creation. So this one, I'll probably cut it about here, and then I just sort of wrap it into a circle as best I can. And I try to just sort of wrap the wrap it around itself, basically. And sometimes I use a little bit of wire to hold it together, because that helps it stay in place while you're working with it. And I usually use wire that looks like about like this. This is a floral wrapping wire. And you can get this kind of stuff at like Michael's, which is like a craft store. Sometimes shops like fabric shops have things like this. And then I'll like wrap the wire around to hold this together like that. And then the other side, I'll do it too, get a little piece of wire to hold that together. And I want to find out if anybody is going to make something today.
I am going to, but probably not during the presentation because I'm getting ready for the evening, but I'm watching and I've got my branches sitting outside. So
Okay.
When all the festivities are over, I'm going to come back and do it. I bet other people are doing some too.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, like I wanted to tell everybody that if you can talk to me. You don't have to wait till it's done, because with this kind of thing, it's okay to like interrupt and ask questions as we go. Because then it's like, I think it's just easier that way. So that's kind of the base kind of thing that I was talking to you about. I'm looking at one of the, yeah, she trimmed her wisteria. Josiah said she trimmed her wisteria and is using that as her base. So this is a good base. So it looks like Loreta is getting started here.
I think you can maybe talk, because I know like when we're making a circle, sometimes it's not really perfect circle. What do you do like
To help it be a perfect circle?
Yeah, and
I just try to like shape it as I go. And I usually can't make, I mean, this isn't a perfect circle either. It's sort of like kind of a circle, but it's, you do the best you can. And to try to make it the best shape that you can, you just sort of go around and just sort of pull it and stretch it. Sometimes adding another piece of wire to like hold two ends together. So what I'm going to do, I think, is just make one. I'm going to make one of these, with the camellias and the lemons. The lemons, they're not stuck to it. They're just placed around it. So I have a bunch of rosemary right here. And you just, you can use rosemary, you can use, thyme or oregano. Those are all really good base plants. Loreta's working with a little bit of jasmine too, and that's also a good base. So what I usually do is I get some wire, and I'll cut a piece that's maybe like 1.5 feet long. It's good to have a little bit of a longer piece. And see, and then I dropped it. Okay. And then I'll like place, one piece of rosemary on like that. And you can start with whatever size you want. I usually put the wire kind of like, I don't know if you can see this, it's just kind of over the top, and then I'll wrap the short end around, and then I'll take the other end and just start wrapping it. And then you just keep adding until you get it all covered. And it doesn't take too long. I mean, and you could make it as elaborate or simple as you'd like. And it looks like Loretta's using some of the jasmine. That looks really pretty. And this rosemary has a little bit of purple flowers on it. So that kind of gives it a nice little effect. See, it's because it's flowering right now. Of course, this would be a lot more fun if you guys were all sitting here with me.
Yeah, and I want to share the reflection when I walked in this room. This room smells so amazing. These flowers,
That's the clematis.
so good. I'm gonna bring it closer. What is that? If you can all inhale it. Smells so good.
So I just got another piece of the wire, and you're just going to keep getting this on there, and then you can continue to shape as you go. And you know, if you live somewhere where you can't pick stuff, and you don't have a garden where you have stuff ready to go, it's always, you can just go to a floral shop, or you know, and then you could also get the fake flowers and fake foliage, which will of course last longer. And with this method, you know, the centerpieces start to die off within a few days because it's fresh. So it's good for like, you know, 2-3 days maybe, and then it starts to not look as good.
But you think rosemary lasts longer a little bit?
Yeah, the rosemary will last, but like the daffodils and the camellias, they don't last very long. So I'm just continuing to cut the rosemary. I try to get like sort of more of the flexible, like the branches that are, you know, not quite as stiff, because they tend to get on here a little bit better. And this is almost completely covered here. And, you know, if you don't want to do something like this, like put something like rosemary as a base, you can also just wrap flowers around the dogwood branch or the willow branch without a base. You can do whatever you want. There's so many like ways that you can do this. If you want to talk, please do, because I can't really look at the chat while I'm doing this.
I love to see all the different colors that you've brought in. And I can't help but notice the art on the wall.
I know, I know, it's nice how it's like displayed there.
It's perfect. It's so great. Just peeking down in the chat, we've only had that one comment that Josiah trimmed the wisteria. I'm gonna be you, and then Josiah also says crocus and winter daphne are out here, but your beautiful table display feels so much like spring. Yeah, they're still having wintry time up in the Pacific Northwest, but down near you in Lake County, Lisa and Loretta, it's probably warming up pretty nicely now, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it gets down in the 30s at night, but it's definitely feels very springy around here for sure. And the trees are all blooming. You know, my peach tree blooming and my pears are blooming. And so, yeah, it's definitely, the spring energy is here for sure.
Yeah, and the tulips are also.
The tulips are coming out.
It's really beautiful.
So this is finished, the base here. So this is kind of what I usually do to start.
And super sturdy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the camellias that I'm going to use. So these are one of the first bushes that bloom at my house. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is really easy. I mean, you just take one, I cut it about this length. So, you know, it's just 2 to 3 inches from the flower. And then I'll take, maybe leave one leaf on because they tend to kind of get in the way a little bit. But if you like the leaves, leave them on. And then I just sort of place it kind of right on top. So you want to put it like so it looks good when it's sitting on the table. So I kind of like put it right on top. And then I'll use the wire again. And this time I'm just going to use a smaller piece of wire because I'm just going to do 1 piece of wire per flower. So maybe 4 inches. That might be a little short. So this is about 3 inches of wire. And then you just wrap it on there. And you want to get it on there really tight because camellia flowers tend to be hard to stay on like that. So I might even get another piece of wire and get that on there really good. So when you move it around, it's not all going to fall off. And a lot of times I like to get the wrap right up to the base of the flower because then it stays on better without cutting it off, which sometimes I do. So that's the first flower. And I can probably fit about maybe 4 or 5 around here. So go ahead and cut another one. Yeah, the winter daphne is amazing. It's one of my favorite plants. I have a plant, it's like a low bush and it starts blooming in January and it makes this amazing fragrant flowers. Let me see if I have a little demo of those. Yeah, so
Lilacs?
you have there's a few lilacs that are just coming out.
Oh, my lilacs is not fit.
This is a daphne here, this flower. And it's like really, really fragrant. It's beautiful.
Those pale colors are amazing.
Yeah, and they're really easy to grow. And at least at my house they are. It doesn't freeze. I'm not sure about the East Coast, how that works with Daphne. Anybody know about Daphne on the East Coast?
I want some for sure. Ooh, so good.
Yeah, so I'll put I like symmetric, so I usually put these symmetrically on. But you can do whatever you want, however it seems to be creating for you as far as your style. All right, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and put the third flower on here. So far, it's looking okay. And Yeah, the most important thing is just as tight as you can when you wrap the wire. Because otherwise, if you don't do it tight, it's all going to fall apart. And the bigger the flowers, the harder to wrap. So these camellias are actually pretty hard to deal with. They're not my favorite flower to work with, but it's kind of what's available right now. And as the season goes on, there's more flowers available to work with. Actually, I might put this down because it's starting to like do weird things. And I think when you're working with something like this, it's good to sit down at a table. Because then you can kind of keep, you don't have, it stays in better shape, I believe, that way. You can still kind of see me here. And I'm just going to put another one on. And you have a little bit more leverage too when you work with on a table. This crown I have is Daphne too. Can everybody see that? So this I made really quickly with the rosemary base too. And it'll probably last like 3 or 4 days and still it starts looking funky.
Can you show what's happening in the back? You used a little ribbon.
Oh yeah, I tied it. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it?
Gonna show the side. I want to see.
I love it.
Oh yeah, she added the little hook, and then she would just
Yeah, this one I made with for flower head wreaths. I usually use this, which is like basically they're called stem wire, and you can kind of fold it. And then I think we did this last year, but not everybody was here. And you just kind of do it, make little hooks at the end like that. And then you could wrap your flowers on there.
Oh, that's what I should have done. Maybe still can do it.
Yeah.
I can do that too.
Right,
But I want to use all these flowers.
So I am going to put one more flower on here. And then this one will be about done. And you could, add other things or, ribbons. You could do a lot of different things with this kind of project. There's a lot of variation, of course.
I'm thinking about how great it's going to be to do this when my lilacs come.
Yeah, the lilacs. Do you have lilacs in your yard?
I have the most awkwardly placed lilac bush in the world. I didn't plant it. My person who lived here before me did, but it's in this really shady corner of the yard. So it's grown like, it looks like a teenage horse. It's all legs. Like this base is, the stems are so long and the branches are so tall. And then at the top, it's got this little cluster of flowers that come out when it's sunny. So I have this really funky, weird lilac bush, but I get some every year and I'm going to get some out. When I get them this year, I'm going to make one of these because the smell is intoxicating.
Yeah, this is the first lilacs I just picked this morning. They're just starting to come out.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. Are those the regular ones or are those the ones that are like the Melissa lilacs?
These are from the tree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those are really lovely.
Yeah.
And it's funny because so Lisa lives about 10 miles inland from me and I'm right on the coast. And my lilac plant hasn't even had like leaves even yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get more fog cover, I bet, being closer to the sea. Huh?
Yeah, and then so this is the like I said, it's a little bit floppy, but that's the what I just created here.
Oh.
And it looks really good sitting on the table, like, you know.
Oh, looks amazing.
And then, you know, you could do, I have these lemons that are in my garden, so I thought it was kind of a nice little effect to do the lemons around. You know, and it's kind of seasonal, you know.
I love the lemons.
And then you can, you put your goddess or your candle, and, you know, do your evening ritual, or if you're going to have some friends over for dinner to celebrate the equinox or whatever, celebrate your friends, you could do that. That's a nice little table centerpiece too for eating. Or, you know, your altar. So that's that. Let's see, where are we? Time. So it's about 1/4 of, so we're doing pretty good on time.
We're great.
Now let me just quick show you how I did the jasmine. You know, I guess it's for the garland. And this is the jasmine that I gathered this morning, and it's an evergreen vine that it stays green all year. Around here it does, at least. And it's kind of nice to what I did earlier is I just took pieces of the jasmine, you know, and I just wrapped them together, like, you know, this is 2 separate pieces. And I just sort of twisted them together like that. And then each time I put 2 pieces together, connected another piece, I put a little piece of wire on to hold it together. And that way you're sure to keep it connected. So I'm just putting a
little strays running away.
Yeah. And, you know, I just keep adding, and some of the pieces are longer than others. And you just keep adding. Jasmine is one of those kind of plants that they're really easy to grow in my climate. And they're kind of take over too a little bit.
You have the climbing variety.
Yeah, it's kind of a climbing vine. There's lots of varieties. You're right. There's like a shorter bush variety. This is the kind that climbs over your fence, or if you have a trellis or something.
Oh, so nice. That smells so good when it's.
Yeah, and when it flowers, you know, it's nice. Like you can do this when it's flowering too, and then you already have your flowers on there, and then you can add stuff if you want.
I read somewhere a long time ago in like a beauty book that Polynesian women or women from Tahiti will take jasmine flowers and branches, and when they wash their long hair, they then have their hairs wet and they oil it, and then they take the jasmine flowers and they braid it into their hair and then roll it all up and sleep on it until it's dry, and then they take it down and their hair smells like jasmine and has the little natural wave from the braiding.
Ooh, that sounds very goddessy.
I know, doesn't that sound like that's like a party I want to go to? I want to be at that party.
Yeah, it's just sort of like that, adorning yourself and, you know, smelling good and perfume, and
maybe we'll do that for mother-daughter weekend.
yeah, because I think I'll have some blooming then.
Should be, I think.
Yeah. So this is kind of the length. So it's kind of, you know, sometimes I'll like tie it together a little bit, and, you know, just sort of keep twisting all the pieces that are sort of hanging off. And
be both. No, it's a little bit too big.
Loretta's done with hers.
Like
Almost done.
maybe a crown, but not big.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too big for a crown. I think I am, because I think more you put in, I think if more you put in, it will take out of the, like simplistic is better, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I feel like there's almost too much here.
No, I think that's amazing. I tend to be complicated in mine. So all this here is simplistic.
It's amazing. They all look.
Yeah, and then like once you get the vine base like this, or the, for the garland, and you could also do this at you can use this probably around Christmas time too, if you wanted to make like a Christmas garland. And you could put pine cones on it, or like berries, make it more seasonal for that time of year. But for today, what I was doing with this is I just kind of, what I would do is I have the vine like this, or the garland base, and then I'll cut, I think I use some of these narcissus, and then maybe I'll use a little of the lilac. So I'll just get like one of these lilacs, and I cut it about that long. So it's just a little, a couple inches, and then I'll attach it to the garland, and I'll get another piece of wire, or actually what works better with this, what I found earlier today, is this floral tape. And this is really cheap, and you can get it at the same stores, like a fabric store or like a craft store. And then you just wrap it on there.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah, and so it just stays on there.
Oh, and it matches because it's green.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just sort of wrapped on there. And this is the end of the garland here, and then I'll just keep adding things. And sometimes I'll do I'll do a lilac, and then I'll take a narcissus and go a few inches down from that. One thing I do a lot when I'm doing this is I lose everything that I'm working with. Floor tape.
That's the sign you're really in your creativity.
So here's the lilac, and then I'll go down about, maybe 5 inches, depending on how elaborate you want to be. And then I'll wrap this on, and you can just keep adding. And if you wanted to add color to this, a different like branch or like another vine to this garland, you could do that. Like if you had like some ornamental grasses or something, you could wrap that in there too. So there's really lots of like different methods you could do, different techniques. And I think I'll add a daffodil here. So you could just add a daffodil.
The ultimate symbol of spring, right?
I know. Yeah, these started blooming like really early this year.
Yeah, we had those coming up in Mount Shasta too. And of course, then it started snowing on them. But,
Right. Yeah, so here's sort of like an example of, kind of the succession. Like sometimes what I would do is maybe do one more flower on there, a few inches down, and then repeat. And then I'll do another lilac, narcissus, daffodil, as long as you have enough of your materials. So you just work with what you got, How's everybody doing?
It's great. We have a couple of comments. So yes, some folks are coming to the end of their day. We have our UK folks, it's midnight, so they're headed to bed. But we're just about, we're coming to the end of our time. And I, thank you to those who have had to drop away and go to rest. But I'm so glad that you've come along and enjoyed, and love to see these garlands. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this is a really fun one to make. This is the first time I've made one of these, so it's a good
Oh.
idea.
And just how elegant to have it, you could drape it over an archway or put it on your mantle or, wherever.
Yeah, yeah,
Or down the middle of a table on at a big feast.
right. Yeah, there's so many things that you can do. And then you could like place your goddesses or candles or crystals and make just this beautiful like altar, centerpiece for your ritual dinner or whatever you're doing. But